Well, hello YouTube. Welcome to the Fire the Briar channel. And today I just wanted to talk about my first pipe. Just share a story of the first pipe I ever got. And maybe in the comments some of you would like to put some notes about reminiscing about your first pipe. But it was back in the late 1980s, I would say, and I was a young man, and back in those days, of course, there were some pipe smokers in my life, but like the periodicals, hunting, fishing, outdoorsy kind of things, would actually, at least some of the older ones, they would still have ads. If you look through some old ones that were laying around, advertising pipes and tobaccos and stuff, and it just seemed to go hands in hand with the outdoorsy kind of life. So it was, like I said, back in the late 1980s. And one day I decided that I was going to go fishing. It was a beautiful day. I guess it was late spring. And down the road a ways, there was a farm pond that I had permission to fish in. And the fishing was always pretty good, especially in the evenings. There was a lot of really big bluegill and bass that would feed around the edges of the pond, and I loved going there with a fly rod fishing. So, on this particular day, I decided to go get all my fishing stuff together and head to the pond. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know what would make this absolutely perfect would be if I actually had a pipe with the fly rod and the vest and the fishing hat, and it would just be somehow make the experience perfect. So on the way there, I dropped by a drugstore. Now, believe it or not, in this time frame, in this era, you could actually purchase pipes and tobacco, cigars and cigarettes and all that at a drugstore. So I drop in the drugstore, and they don't have a huge selection, but they did have some pipes, and they had a Dr. Grabow Lark, a little bent lark, and I thought, well, that's perfect. And they had a selection of tobacco, and since I didn't have any real frame of reference for what I would have liked or whatnot, but I remember Grandpa had a tin of Borkum Riff on the shelf in his house, and so I was familiar with that brand, and they had some Borkum Riff Cherry, and I bought that, and I got some penny matches, and away I go to the pond. Well, it was absolutely beautiful. It was perfect. The water was like glass. The trees were reflecting in the edges. The fish were biting. They were feeding. You could hear them popping all over the pond, eating insects. Just what I was looking for. So I paddle out and get out in the pond and get my rod put together and rigged with a popping bug, and I pull my pipe out of my pocket. And I light it, fill it with the tobacco, the Borkum Riff Cherry, and I light it, and it smells so good, and it tastes so good. But I didn't really know anything about pipe smoking. So I start fishing around the edge of the pond and smoking my pipe, and cast and puff, and cast and puff. And it looks just like a picture out of one of those glossy outdoorsy magazines, but I was the guy that was there. It wasn't just somebody, it was me. I was the one there in that picturesque scene. And it was wonderful. The fish were biting. I was catching them like crazy. I was throwing them back. Back in that day, I didn't keep them. I like to you know, kind of honor the fact that I got a chance to fish there and didn't want to be greedy and take a bunch of fish home. So that day I was pretty much just throwing them all back. That was probably before catch and release was really even much of a thing. Back in those days, most people did ketchup and grease, but I guess I was doing catch and release. Anyhow, I got about halfway through the pond and had finished my first bowl in the pipe, and it was wonderful. It was so aromatic, so delightful, but I noticed some distinct warmth on my tongue. But I didn't know anything about that. So I loaded my pipe up again, relit it, and paddled my way on around the pond, fishing, casting, puffing, paddling. And I got back to the landing. I'd had a great day, thrown probably 20, 25 fish back. But at this point, my tongue was on fire. When I got to the bottom of that second bowl, my tongue was absolutely on fire. So I guess my first pipe was my first encounter with tongue bite. Who knew? I didn't know it was a thing. And it was the worst tongue bite I have ever had in my life, by orders of magnitude and many multiples. I literally don't believe I could eat for about the next 2 days, and even a sip of cool water would just set it on fire again. I don't recall exactly. I know it was Borkum Riff Cherry. I don't know if it's the Cherry Cavendish of today, or if it was a kind of a different product back in that day, in that era. But it was a tongue bite like I never imagined was possible. And it kind of makes me wonder why I smoke a pipe today after such a absolutely terrible first experience. And it smelled good and it tasted good. But the amount of pain my tongue was in for the next about 2 days makes me wonder why I ever tried a pipe again. I'm glad I did, because I sure enjoy them. And that's a funny thing, I don't really much remember my second pipe. The one after that, I don't think I ever touched that thing again. For a while it was new, it wasn't broken in, I didn't know anything about pipe smoking, but it was a absolutely miserable experience. And I've learned some things for that, and especially when I'm talking to people that are interested in getting into pipes, I try to be real thoughtful with what tobacco recommendations I would give them, and try to give them some instruction. Something I never had was anybody to kind of give me a little instruction along. I thought it's simple, right? You put tobacco in, you light it, and you just puff like a freight train and you enjoy it, and that's smoking a pipe. And I did not know there was a learning curve, and there was a lot to learn as far as packing and cadence and tobacco selection, and it seems like you build up a tolerance too, that it just quits being so nippy. Even tobaccos that are prone to bite some settle down. But I would love in the comments to hear some of your stories about your first pipe briefly, and so on and so forth. Did you have a good experience? Did you have a bad experience? Did you maybe have somebody that had some knowledge that would teach you and give you some advice along? I would love to hear that. But that's the story of my first pipe, and I hope you will like and subscribe, and thank you for viewing my channel. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.